First of all, the nurses talk about it. That's just first of all. I have several students come back. Here's the two things the nurses students come back and tell me. They rush in, they say, Kiggins, tell me that Renin story again. I have a quiz on it in 10 minutes. So I run through it for them. And they come back and they say, Kiggins, tell me the arterial blood gas pH story again, because I have a quiz on it in 10 minutes. And then they come back later after the quiz and they say, man, those nurses do that Renin story and that arterial blood gas stories. And here's the first story. It's called the Renin-Angiotensin-Aldosterone system. I'll spell that out for you. And it works like this. I look like a kidney? It's supposed to be. Blood flows into my kidney, renal artery. Inside my kidney, I have these little functional units called nephrons. You don't have to worry about that yet. But I have this special spot in my kidney called the juxtaglomerular apparatus. I don't even think you have to know that. I'm pretty sure you don't have to know that. But the bottom line is this. With low blood pressure, two things are secreted by my kidney. Low blood pressure leads to increase of erythropoietin and an increase in renin. Now let's do the renin first. What renin does is renin converts this pre-hormone called angiotensin into angiotensin 1. That's what renin does. And then angiotensin 1 encounters another enzyme in your body called ACE, which stands for angiotensin converting enzyme. All right? And that converts this to angiotensin 2. What angiotensin 2 does is it goes to the brain and says to the brain, increase the release of ADH, make them thirsty, and ADH, no, that's the aldosterone. And I can't think of the other thing it does at the brain. Angiotensin 2 also goes to the adrenal cortex. I'll think of the other thing for the brain in a second. And it says, increase aldosterone. Now, who cares? I haven't raised blood pressure yet. I'm about to raise blood pressure. Aldosterone goes to the kidney and says, increase sodium retention. So you made your blood more salty. Water always travels from a hypotonic environment into a hypertonic environment. If I just made my blood more salty, water follows. ADH goes to the kidney and says, increase water retention. It actually opens the water pores called aquaporins. So both ADH and both aldosterone increase blood volume. Increased blood volume increases blood pressure. Plus I'm thirsty and I'm drinking more. And I'm going to retain that because I have ADH and aldosterone.
The ADH is one that works on the glycogen index?
Yes. Yep. You got it. Now remember, this started with low blood pressure. Didn't I just increase my blood pressure? In addition, which I didn't tell you before, both of these guys are vasoconstrictors. Angiotensin 1's a mild vasoconstrictor. Not very potent at all, very mild. Angiotensin 2, though, is a potent vasoconstrictor. Actually, I think that's what I was missing when I was thinking I was missing something. So this is a potent vasoconstrictor. You guys heard of ACE inhibitors? Yeah, your grandfather was on an ACE inhibitor for a while after his heart attack. What ACE inhibitors do is they inhibit this enzyme. Therefore, you don't convert this. Therefore, you don't increase blood pressure. Therefore, you keep blood pressure low. ACE inhibitors lower blood pressure because ACE inhibitors knock out that enzyme. In your medical field, usually in cardiac patients, when they say ACE inhibitors, they're talking about this enzyme, ACE, angiotensin converting enzyme. I've seen other drugs called ACE inhibitors that they're really talking about acetylcholinesterase inhibitors. They abbreviate that ACE as well. You got to be careful. You got to know which ACE you're talking about. Usually with cardiac patients, it's in this angiotensin converting enzyme, not acetylcholinesterase. So that's the renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system. Oh, I didn't finish this. Because you don't have much blood flowing to the kidneys, you also don't have much oxygen going to the kidneys. Your kidneys release erythropoietin. EPO-A stands for erythropoietin. Erythropoietin goes to the bone marrow and says to the poietin, I have to look at it, goes to the bone marrow, and says increase red blood cell production. That's what erythropoietin does. Goes to the bone marrow and says, give me more erythrocytes. By the way, you have to know the technical name for all these cells. Thrombocytes are platelets, erythrocytes are red blood cells, leukocytes are white blood cells. All right? And of course, if I have more red blood cells, I can carry more oxygen. If I can carry more oxygen, then I can deliver more oxygen to my kidneys. It's not hypoxic anymore. All right. Well,